Welcome back to Muscle Magazine. Now that I'm a pro, I'm preparing for the 1990 Night of Champions in New York. Last month was the first professional event of the 1990 season. It was sponsored by Ironman magazine and held for those wanting to qualify for the Mr. Olympia later on in the year. John Kobick was there for the action.
The beautiful shoreline on Redondo Beach has been known as a favorite sunspot for Southern California bodybuilders, and recently the City at the Sea played host to the 1990 Ironman Pro Invitational competition, the first IFBB men's pro event of the year. 10 of the world's top athletes rocked the capacity crowd with an amazing display of mass and muscle. And the exciting prejudging set the tone for the contest, with established veterans going head-to-head with some aggressive newcomers. It started with Arizonian Vinnie Comerford, who looked tough and ready, as did hometown favorite Gary Clark Kent Strydom. Rookie Harry Dinger from Germany was there for his pro debut. And big J.J. Marsh made his long-awaited return to the posing diet. Canadian Steve Brisbois showed his power pack build, and fellow Mountie Nimord King presented his anticipated massive shape. Tony Pearson, the muscled Michael Jackson, was present, while Czechoslovakian Pavol Jablonicky came to California to compete on American soil for the first time. Arizona's Mike Ashley came with a new look in search of his first pro win. And another crowd favorite, Shawn Ray, returned to competition after a full-year layoff of heavy training and body conditioning. Right from the start, it was clear to us that this was going to be one hell of a show. As the night show began, Ironman magazine publisher and promoter John Balick pulled out a surprise performance from none other than the king of rock and roll himself, reincarnated by the one and only Lonnie Tepper. Women's pro Diane Garrity also showcased her little-known singing talents, as well as her shapely physique. But enough with the sideshow. The audience flocked to see the Muscle Men, and the lights introduced this dynamic lineup as the Muscle Fest began. Finishing 10th was a native of Turkey, making his pro debut in the IFBB. Harry Dinger now lives in Germany, but before making that move, he won the Turkish National Championship 3 times. At 5'7" and 195 pounds, Harry presented great shape, strong hold by his great body lines and symmetry. But he wasn't nearly as ripped as he could be, especially in his legs and back region. With more emphasis on his competition diet and with the addition of more muscle mass, this young athlete could become a one-man demolition crew at the Berlin Wall. In 9th position was another East Bloc sensation, Czechoslovakian Pavol Jablonicky, who may not have the best body balance, but is amazingly impressive. This 2-time world amateur champion has no apparent weaknesses, other than a slight case of blockiness. Pavol shows amazing muscle denseness, coupled with full and round muscle bellies and tie-ins. With a little more work on getting harder on his diet, Pavol could start taking professional trophies to his homeland. 8th place went to former Mr. America and 6-time world mixed pairs champion Tony Pearson. It's hard to believe that this 32-year-old has been competing for 14 years, but a look at his coast-to-coast lat spread and his incredible abs, you'll become a believer in this seasoned veteran. Tony lost some muscle size due to an emergency appendectomy, but was happy with his condition in his quest back onto the tough pro circuit. Tony is also pleased with the institution of drug testing for the men's professional ranks.
I'm 100% for it. I feel that you should be the best that you can be. But another thing about bodybuilding, we get labeled for being using steroids. Every sport uses steroids. And that's, if the general public would understand that. We get labeled because we have the 20-inch arm. Everyone takes it. But I'm happy for it because there's a few guys in the sport that I know are drug-free. I'm drug-free now. I've used it in the past, but I'm free now. And I want to see the best guy up there wins. Free. To prove to the world that we are still the champions.
The 7th spot went to Canadian Steve Brisbois. With one of the most symmetrical physiques around, and at only 5'3" and 160 pounds, it's definitely his strong point. Steve lacks some of the mass and muscle that placed him 4th at the '89 Niagara Falls Invitational, but he was ripped to the bone and presented his body with great dramatics. Another former Canadian champion, Nimord King, finished just out of the money in 6th place. This 220-pounder packs incredible thickness on his 5'7" frame, and he stormed onto the pro scene only last year by winning the Los Angeles Pro Competition in style. Nimrod is only 24 years old and has plenty of time to refine his shape. He explained the unique training philosophy which helped him develop his trademark thickness.
I believe in high repetitions. I believe in using medium heavyweights, not light. You know, a lot of people have misconceptions of my style of training. I believe in using medium heavyweights to a point, but then going for an extra 5 repetitions.
Now, up to the top 5, and quite a cast it was. Rounding out the top 5 was 1986 USA champion J.J. Marsh, making somewhat of a comeback after an 11th place finish in his only other pro show in '88. At 211 pounds, J.J. showed fierce muscle separation and great symmetrical line. He's known for his dramatic posing presentations and also mixes it up in mixed pairs competitions. Coming as somewhat of a shock to the crowd was the placing of odds-on favorite Gary Strydom. Gary came in big at a ripped body weight of 249 pounds, but he admitted that he missed his peak and was suffering from a touch of the flu bug. The native South African is always a front-runner in any competition he enters, but he's had problems shaking a blocky physique reputation. Lately, he's instituted a few new ideas in his contest preparation.
Well, I've tried to improve my physique, you know, in different areas that I thought I could improve. And of course, I try to maintain the strong points and also try and bring them up and balance with the rest of my body. But the main thing is, I think, just basically get the symmetry and the hardness along with the mass is the key to the whole thing.
$3,000 and 3rd place went to Arizona's own blonde myth, Vinnie Comerford. The 5'4" Mighty Mike carried 186 pounds on his frame, the heaviest and easily most impressive shape of his career to date. Vinnie jumped into the professional ranks with his middleweight victory at the '87 Nationals, then waited until '89 to make his pro debut with a 3rd place finish at the Night of Champions. Vinnie is really enjoying the challenge of the pro ranks and has especially focused in on his training.
I train so thoroughly and so committed just because I want to create the opportunity to compete as a professional. And what I want to do is to give into what it's given back to me, a self-esteem, a respect, and a pride which I have for myself and for everybody else. And the bottom line is that it's an enjoyment.
A close 2nd place and $4,000 in prize money went to another Arizonian, Mr. Natural, Mike Ashley. Mike came off of knee surgery and used his year-long recuperation period to really nail his contest preparations. He looked harder than anyone on stage, especially in his chiseled abdominals and tight back. Mike says he's a lifetime drug-free competitor who's encouraged by the enactment of pro-level drug testing at the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic and Mr. Olympia for the first time. And he has perfected the scientific art of dieting for competition.
In the past, I've dieted like 3,000 calories, low-calorie diet. This time I went as high as 4,000 calories, and I did aerobics every day for 30 to 45 minutes in the morning prior to my first meal and after my last meal in the evenings. Now, that's something that's totally different for me, but it helped me to keep a leaner body at a higher percentage in terms of lean body mass, and I was able to come in a little bigger and just as hard.
But as hard as Ashley was, it just wasn't enough to beat 87 national champion Shawn Ray, who presented the most complete of packages en route to the big win. At 5'7", he came in lighter than usual, weighing around 196, but looking 20 pounds bigger. His legs were full and ripped, and his back and biceps were much improved since his 13th place finish at the 88 Mr. Olympia. Then there was the much-publicized year-long suspension when Shawn injured his neck and missed the 89 Arnold Classic, thereby breaching his IFBB contract. But all that is behind him now, and the 24-year-old, who perhaps has the best genetic potential in the sport today, claimed the trophy along with 10 grand in spending cash. Afterwards, Shawn told us how he channeled his energies into this win.
And every time I watched a bodybuilding show, I got more motivated. And watching the pros do their thing as a spectator instead of a competitor really made me hungry to get back on stage. So all I did was went back to the basics. I basically stopped working as much while I was preparing for this contest. And, you know, I did the basics of eat, sleeping, and training, and focusing in on what I wanted to accomplish in bodybuilding, and that is to be a champion. And I think the real champions, you know, they don't make comebacks, they just overcome setbacks, and that's what I'm trying to do here today.
The first annual Ironman Pro Invitational, the start of a great tradition and the foothold of an exciting new year of bodybuilding. I'm John Kovic for Muscle Magazine.
Congratulations, Shawn. You look great. Remember, I was your training partner, so I think I should get some of that prize money. Remember, you haven't competed against me yet, so be prepared to get nuked by the Zook. We'll be right back.